Things are bad. Things are very bad because you and I are surrounded by retarded dumpster babies who are willing to repeat quite literally anything. They don't think about it, but they will repeat it if it's circulated, well circulated and well financed. Here's what's on the TikTok.
Here's what actually happened with the TikTok ban. It looks like Trump, who's not even president yet, somehow unbanned TikTok. It normalizes the idea that he has the power to unilaterally change U.S. law, which he doesn't have, at least not yet. The law was passed by the House and Senate. It was signed by President Biden. It went through the Supreme Court. TikTok was going to be banned. But then what happened was Biden, a legal acting president, said that the ban wasn't going to be enforced by the DOJ. So then TikTok voluntarily turned off a fake ban. They were not banned yet. They voluntarily turned off, making it look like they were banned. Praised the president. Then, the president says calling him the president, he's not even the president yet. Praised Trump. Then Trump says, I've unbanned it. Then TikTok turns their stuff back on. And here you have the Dog and Pony Show.
Sometimes this gal creates art, and I've always thought that was kind of cool. She's kind of cute, too. That's probably what ropes most people in. She used to be, maybe she still is, I don't know, but she used to be local here in Portland, Oregon. She started making pornography and then jumped into the business on a larger scale. She just left a couple things in here, and all of this is relevant to TikTok, is my point. And by the end of these stories, you're going to get a bunch of fucking propaganda. And it's ironic because people aren't thinking about this. I left a video online yesterday. I left two of them, actually. The first one pointed out the fact that TikTok expressly stated that what's taking place is temporary. People still reacted, they still freaked out, but apparently people didn't read the words on the screen. The message that followed that supposedly shut the fucking site down for less than 24 hours, if I'm not mistaken, for some reason it paid fan service, as people would think of it. It boasted about a steward of America, a steward of the District of Columbia, to be exact. You know, the city-state. It's the banner that is above what you would think of as the states or America. It's above what you would think of as a president, because it's the bottom of the trilateral city-states, and it's part of what pulls the strings of the puppet president, as you would probably think of it. And it doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. If America, is banning a Chinese application, the last thing the Chinese app would do is say, oh, but don't worry, we'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Thank you very much, Donald J. Trump. It made no fucking sense whatsoever. But that's how they supposedly closed it down for less than 24 hours. So people reacted, etc., and the other stuff that I already rattled off, because our masters are gauging reaction times, among other things. They're tracking things. They're trying to see how people react. How many people are dumb enough to buy into something like this? Another way you could think of it is, imagine if there was a, phony fucking alien invasion, lights in the sky, our master's shooting off projectiles and claiming that, it's alien weaponry, or they're slingshotting asteroids into this fucking, atmosphere, which is absolute horse shit, by the way. Just adult fairy tale bullshit, but most people would repeat it. Did I say it right? Most people would repeat it, and most people would buy into it. Most people would fucking promote it for free. They would circulate the propaganda. They would, just stir the pot of the fucking fear porn. Because most people react. They don't think for themselves. They don't take a moment to try to figure out what the fuck is going on and why is it going on. They don't understand that if it's well financed and well circulated, in this case, social programming, otherwise known as social media, it is fucking manipulating you and I. So back to point. You can read this shit here, because this is what I already rattled off. One more second. Somewhere in here. This is what I just saw too, and I didn't know until I saw her stories. So I clicked on it, and it does check out. This just popped up for me too, because you and I are being fucked with. You and I are the fucking punchline to the goddamn joke. But that's only if we participate and we, cater to this shit, which most people do, most people are. So then I saw this. As this reads, and this is fucking garbage, by the way. This is the propaganda I was referring to. Welcome back. TikTok was just doing a political stunt to pay, deference to a vain and easily manipulated president. Which makes no sense if you guys understand what a fucking president is. And most people don't. They do not. There's a reason why the president goes to the fucking UK and essentially kneels or bows to the fucking crown. It's because the crown is on top. I probably should say it because most of you guys don't understand it. The crown is the top of the fucking trilateral city-states. It's known as the city or the crown. It's a banking financial district. It's a city-state. And it is symbolized by Cleopatra's Needle, which is an obelisk. Beneath that, you have the Vatican, which is a city-state, which is symbolized by an obelisk. I've stressed this, and I asked people for years to fucking name the obelisk, and I kept joking around, it's dastardly, who knows what it could be fucking called. And it took quite literally over half a decade for somebody to finally look it up and tell me, and I was proud of them for finally fucking taking the initiative. You should do the same, because it's very telling, and it's got numerous names, one of which has to do with a Malcolm McDowell movie. Back to point, and it's very telling is what I'm driving at, and that has to do with the Vatican. The bottom of the trilateral city-states is the District of Columbia, or America in all capital letters. And it is symbolized by the Washington Monument, which happens to also be a fucking obelisk. This is the structure. It's a 3-tier structure, just like the Trinity, because our masters understand how shit works. And they are using it. But most people don't understand it. So in terms of presidents, they're on the bottom. They're facemen of the corporation, respectively. They're garbage. And most people buy into this. They believe in it. Voting matters. Taxes pay for roads. I'll repeat anything. So back to point. It says, brave and handsome President Trump even started this ban. Poorly worded and then some, would you agree? I'll read that again. Brave and handsome, no comma, President Trump even started this ban. Did a 12-year-old retarded dumpster baby write that? Probably. But you probably don't remember or care. You've seen that movie or you've heard of Idiocracy, right? Because you and I are surrounded by people who are dumb as fuck. They're not raising their vibration. They're not striving to be the best and the brightest. They're not encouraging each other to do the right thing, for fuck's sake. And that's why we see things like this on the internet. There's more, but wait, there's more. Anyway, we look forward to serving you the same great content, and they're using content because they don't understand that that's shit in place to manipulate you and I, so that you and I think of each other as a fucking product or a brand. It's another word that's being it's slop, but shopped around to mislead people and to marginalize you and I and to devalue humanity, as it were. It might sound pretty out there, but it's fucking true. And a lot of people out there see themselves as a fucking brand producing content. Why would they do that? Because you and I are working towards social credit slavery. That's why. And if you're not in the mindset, you would probably reject it. You would probably speak against it. You would probably do the right thing and urge others to do the same. But instead, how many people are making their, content based on the brand that they've fashioned, on the DARPA internet, on the free social programming apps? You and I are being manipulated. It says, anyway, we look forward to serving you the same great content you love, but now with a more right-wing lean. Does that make any sense? Well, if you used TikTok and you talked about shit that fucking reflects reality, you would already have experienced what I experienced in less than a year. And some of you probably don't know what I'm talking about. In roughly a year's time, 4 of my fucking accounts were deleted. You with me? And just to be transparent with you, 2 of them were officially deleted. The third one was threatened and was just about to be deleted, so I deactivated it. The 4th one is the one that you can still find technically. Because they said they were going to delete it, but instead they deleted the account that I used to have 2 on there. One of them is the one that I promoted in terms of I sell other people's books online. And they deleted that incorrectly and would not reinstate it. And if you look at the account that I currently have, which is the 4th account, technically speaking, it has, what's it say? Account warning in red below my moniker, or however the layout works. Because I'm still actively being threatened often. And the same applies to Instagram. YouTube hasn't been threatening me in that regard, but YouTube has been blocking me for months at a time and removing videos on a whim, randomly. Instagram won't let me fucking post videos longer than 30 seconds or a minute, depending on the profile. And I'm slapped on the wrist constantly. And good old fucking TikTok will just remove the fucking audio and or challenge the video to where the video just disappears. And I can appeal it sometimes, not always. Some of the subject matter on there, you can't appeal. A lot of times if it has to do with people, waxing poetic about something that doesn't reflect reality, such as non-binary, you can't appeal that. If it has to do with the enduring agenda, which I'm not allowed to talk about on YouTube, because fascist scum moderate YouTube and they control Rockefeller, funded medicine. Yeah? You can't talk about that shit. That will also just be removed on TikTok. Because TikTok is a fucking piece of shit. It's a piece of shit. So if kids think that now it's going to have a right-wing lean, they also don't understand that you and I are being polarized. For one, what do you think the Hegelian dialectic is? In case you don't know what I'm talking about, what the fuck do you think blue versus red means? Why do you see that in the programming? From Star Wars to, have you ever seen lights on top of a cop car? Are you a dumb motherfucker? Have you ever witnessed a sunrise and a sunset? Our masters are laughing at us. Have you ever heard a bike whip over a fucking hill and dissipate into the distance? I'm talking about the sound that you would hear. That's the Doppler shift. Our masters understand how reality works to a degree. And they are manipulating us based on this. If you've ever heard of conquer and divide, that's why shit like this is circulated and most people buy into it. The same people, ironically speaking, that usually say voting matters and taxes pay for roads. You and I are the punchline. I've said it a lot of times. Our masters are testing people. They are gauging reaction times. They're also, they're gauging how many fucking morons will fucking react. They got what they wanted. How many people ran to Red Note? Think, for fuck's sake. Think. And when I say think for yourself. Once again, I was going to step away from recording videos for you guys, and I was going to spell this out for you months down the line. But I'll say it, because I did expect TikTok to be shut down for at least a month. I didn't expect them to flip it around within 24 hours. And you never know, maybe they'll pull it again and say, no, we can't have this. Just to keep, polarizing you. It's like a tug of war. They're just going to pull you in another direction. It could happen again. Big fucking surprise. Either way. Another point real fast. The fact that anything is being censored at all, and I do mean at all, is a fucking issue. And most people aren't focused on that because most people bought into, polarizing, positive vibes only, shadow banning, canceling, all the other stuff. It's all censorship. It's all fascism. But you don't hear people focused on that. You don't hear people calling it what it is and concerned with what it is. So what I was going to say is, the reason you and I have access to the DARPA internet, and I've said this many times, which means if you've ever heard me fucking complain about it, I've already provided you with a tool you could look up, you could verify, and if you did, and you truly thought about what I've been talking about, even though a lot of people hear this shit and they just tune out. Oh, he said this before, I've heard this, but did you fucking think about it? Did you apply it to the TikTok ban? Because if you did, it's another fucking example of me giving you a goddamn tool. You and I have access to the fucking social media apps on the DARPA internet, connected to fucking, the Wi-Fi, to the AI, respectively now. It's not how it should be. But why do we have access to that? A Davos panel stated that our masters were going to give us numerous forms of communication. These are the social media apps, social programming apps. Why would they do that? So that you and I would echo the fucking nonsense. Oh, but Tartaria used to be an empire, because I'll repeat anything. Oh, Thoth the Atlantean. Because people like to suck Billy Carson's dick because they aren't very bright. And the list goes on. I mean, there are so many controlled opposition assets who are actively part of the fucking DARPA internet and these social media platforms, misleading people. And most people see that shit because it's circulated. It's well-financed, it's circulated, and many of them have sponsorship, so to speak. The Insta spam and the other versions of that you'll see on YouTube are the same garbage. It's the same garbage because these people have money. And unfortunately, some of you out there who technically are probably good people are probably also supporting that shit to varying degrees. I know I saw a lot of Disclosure Project fucking ads and other garbage throughout the years, and now it's the Gaia Project because it's splintered off. Back to point. Our masters want you to circulate this fucking propaganda. So what I'm driving at is TikTok is one of the finest examples of morons repeating the propaganda. So taking TikTok away technically runs counter to why you and I have access to the internet. Our masters aren't done with us in this regard because they have not fulfilled their fucking goals. Their goals have not come to fruition. In other words, you and I still aren't connected to the Wi-Fi officially to such a degree that you and I have no free will, among other things. That's part of it. And that's part of it, but people aren't concerned with these things, or they sound too wild, even though you're carrying around a fucking chip in your fucking, wallet or your purse. And you ask people when you go through a register, or at least you did initially because you were being trained, do I use my chip? Little things are big things because they pave the way for these fucking agendas. This isn't the first time I've said this. I want you to think about China. I want you to think about how China supposedly has, family values, this, that, and the other thing. You could think of it as very authoritarian in many ways. If I'm not wrong. I know most of the people out there, we have so many, misbeliefs or false impressions about China. Da, da, da. I've been talking to Chinese people all day and it blows my mind. Stuff like that, but just the same. Technically, what you would think of as China, typically speaking, is traditional in terms of having a structure. You could think of martial arts. You could think of, a number of things. In other words, conviction or what's the word that I'm looking for? I had it and I just lost it. Either way, by the book, very by the book. If you've ever met somebody from China and you've worked with them, they're very different from an American, typically speaking. They set their sights on something and they work towards it diligently. Most of the, Chinese folks that I've met, at least. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. But you could conduct an experiment. Make a short video. You could knock it out under, 1 minute. And bash the fucking shit out of non-binary. No shit. Do it. Leave it on fucking TikTok. And it will be fucking censored. It will be fucking censored. It might take a minute because you're not me and you haven't been slapped on the wrist repeatedly. So you might not have fallen into a black server, so to speak. You might not be a, a repeat offender. But do this. And this app connected to a, country, a corporation that supposedly has values will censor that shit. And that shit is shit. And it's part of a fucking propaganda campaign in place to corrupt what fucking reflects reality. Why? Because if you get a bunch of kids talking about how they're she, theys, or they, thems, essentially, relegating themselves to an inanimate objects, they're much more likely down the line, once they adopt a bunch of babies and rear these children to believe these dogmatic fucking, it's a bunch of nonsense. Pardon me. I need to clean some pans and make some food. And that's what I'm thinking about more than recording this video at the moment. Once you get a couple generations under the belt that have no fucking clue, less than, these wet farts that just bought into this shit did, how bad do you think things are going to be? How likely do you think it is that these generations, there are already people right now that would do it. If you were presented with something along the lines of, merge your mind with the fucking machines, and you could be superhuman, or you could live forever, or some other fill in the blank with some sensational fucking dog shit that sounds really good. And people are going to do this, and they're going to throw free will out the fucking window. They've already corrupted the fucking human genome, and you and I are surrounded by people like this. Which means if you're out there, and people like to have sex, interacting with people, physically speaking, who have corrupted their genome in terms of that other agenda, well, that's also a big fucking problem. And it plays into this as well, what I'm talking about. But jump on TikTok, conduct an experiment, bash non-binary. Do it. Unless you're a chicken shit. Because what I'm talking about is fucking true. It reflects reality, and this will happen to you. And because you and I aren't surrounded by good people, well, I say this because it cuts both ways. I constantly echo that you and I are surrounded by good people, but they're dumb as fuck. Because they're dumb as fuck, they're conducting themselves as absolute bags of shit. In other words, they are the problem. They're the agents from the Matrix, or however you want to think of it. They are actively working against you and I, and themselves, but they're too fucking stupid to realize this. So the bittersweet aspect of this in my heart of hearts, and when I interact with people, when I see them online, etc., they're acting like bad people, but technically they're good people, but they need to choose the adventure. In other words, they're not calling upon free will and doing the right fucking thing. So they are in many ways both, but they're walking the path of a horrible fucking sack of shit. And most people don't realize this. Most people don't want to hear that, but it's fucking true. It's been very lonely. It's very isolating doing what I'm doing because I make fucking sense. What I'm talking about is rooted in logic. What I'm talking about reflects reality. What I'm talking about you could verify and you could reason out if you fucking thought about all of the shit that I constantly fucking take the time and energy to bark at you guys about. And most of you don't. Most of you guys will not see these messages, let alone tell other people about them. Because of what? What did I just say about good people and bad people? Welcome to day 2. It's not like you and I are surrounded by retards. As it reads, I said, hilarious. What do you think TikTok has been used for all along? We are using the DARPA internet. Social media is free. These are 2 red flags. And the person below this apparently couldn't shit out a sentence. As it reads, if democracy, why oligarchy shaped? Perhaps they meant was oligarchy shaped or shaped like an oligarchy. Just the same, Ashley doesn't understand the definition between a plutocracy and an oligarchy. Despite the fact that a lot of people, whine about the rich, eat the rich, blah blah blah, the 1%, blah blah blah. So I left on here, and this is relevant if you fucking think about it. Most of you probably won't. America became a corporation in 1871. By the way, you misspelled plutocracy, Ashley.
This app is now going to be used as surveillance for the U.S. government. This app is now going to be used as surveillance for the U.S. government.
She just keeps doing that, even though she's not very bright. And nearly 4,000 people who are equally dim have circulated this. Fear everything, everyone. Heaven forbid you think about what we've already experienced and what we've already contributed to. Are you carrying around a microphone and usually a set of cameras, one on the front and one on the back? If you remember some of the old phones, you didn't have a front-facing camera for a reason. Do you carry that everywhere you go? It's going to ping your definition, your location. I almost said destination, but same difference. No matter where you go, if you're carrying one of these things. And these gals are worried about this. You and I consent. God, I'm so fucking tired of saying this shit. Because you and I are surrounded by fucking retards. We consented to using social media. We bought into it. We've been profiling ourselves. We train the AI. These are just a couple of the fucking things you and I have consciously chose to do. Best of all, I mean, on TikTok, you're circulating propaganda. That's what this app is for. That's why you have access. And most people haven't figured that out. Have yourself a good chuckle. What do you think the likelihood of the 4,000 people who shared this ridiculous message, as well as the gal that presented it, are of having a Facebook account, an Instagram account, a Twitter account, a Snapchat account, and the list goes on. You know, American applications, supposedly, which aren't surveilling them, and they do have accounts, which also just makes this even better. It's just fucking hilarious. Because what do you do at the end of the day when you're surrounded by fucking, retarded dumpster babies? All you can do is laugh, because how else do you change this if you can't get through to fucking retarded dumpster babies? And the retarded dumpster babies are, egging each other on to keep being retarded dumpster babies. It sure feels good being surrounded by retarded dumpster babies.
This message was brought to you by somebody who cares too much, who's been overlooked, underappreciated, and is tired of you lazy fucking cunts.
Go fuck yourself.